Hello, everybody. I hope you all had a great work week. So, when does new news become old news? It's an interesting question in today's hyperactive real-time notification environment, and there's new research out that says, well, as you might expect, it depends. Want to know more? Well, this is 5 minutes of new news that you need to lead in marketing. Let's roll. Hello, everybody. Robert Rose here with the Content and Marketing Strategy News. It is what's new, but most importantly, it's what's important in our world of marketing. And you can go subscribe to the best of best practices in content and marketing by heading on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. So what's the half-life of a news article these days, and how should it really affect our content mix when we're thinking about publishing, marketing, content, thought leadership, and of course, news about our particular industry or even ourselves? Well, there's new research out from Chartbeat, the content intelligence platform for publishers, that sheds new and interesting light on how traffic source, topic, and other attributes affect the half-life of a news article. So what Chartbeat did was to go look at a news article's lifespan as the time that it takes for said article to reach 80% of its total page views over the first week of publication. The company apparently looked at 27 million articles across the Chartbeat network, and that, of course, includes all kinds of major media companies as well as product and services companies with a major media outlet. Their findings really interesting. The headline, probably not terribly surprising in today's content environment, most articles reach that 80% number in 24 hours, and almost all articles have run their course by the 48-hour mark. Now, as that research said, that doesn't mean that articles won't continue to attract traffic after those following days, but it just really demonstrates how important that first day is. Now, slightly more interesting, and again, perhaps not surprising, is when the researchers took a look at traffic sources. Well, front page articles, or those that were driven by simply returning website traffic, were the shortest. They reached that 80% mark in 20 hours. Social media promoted articles reached that critical number after 26 hours, and search-driven articles stretch it all the way out to 36 hours. Now, that makes sense when you sort of peel it all back and think about it. That breaking news that hits the front page of a media publication will usually be consumed really quite quickly. And more search-driven articles are going to be taking time to get indexed and, of course, have a longer initial shelf life. Now, the research then looked at such things as topic and time of day to see if there was an appreciable difference there, and spoiler alert, there really wasn't. So what's my takeaway here? Well, I think there are some really interesting insights for us as content practitioners. The first is that we should all recognize that this is all about news. So whether or not we're positioning our articles as news or not, if they're perceived as being news by the audience, that's probably a better indicator of whether it's going to have that extraordinarily short shelf life. I feel the meta in this content because, well, take, for example, this weekly item we're covering the news here, and these are topical ideas as we present them, because we present them as relatively breaking. However, you might argue that these videos and accompanying article, well, they're kind of evergreen in nature. I mean, hopefully the takeaways that you get from this are not limited to just this week. But we see a similar curve in engagement and traffic from what's displayed here as the Chartbeat researchers found. In other words, we accept here at CMI that most all of the traffic that this news item is going to get, it's going to be in the first 24 to 48 hours after it goes live. But it's intentionally designed that way. Because why? Well, hopefully, and really only you can be the judge of this, you're under the impression that we're going to keep you up with the trends here, and that builds trust over time, ideally. But why is all that important? Well, it gets to my second takeaway here, and this is a phenomenon that we've known for some years, especially in content marketing for thought leadership or anything that contains any kind of original data or research. Basically, our gut tells us that people devalue older research and data. There's been a trend of removing the dates around blog posts and content with original research so as to try and prolong its lifespan. Many people have written about this idea of removing the dates from blog posts. I even wrote about it last year when I said, and yeah, I'm going to be a little bragging about my wordplay here. I really like my little thing here. Forgive me. That a timeless piece of content doesn't automatically mean that the content will stand the test of time. And content that stands the test of time isn't necessarily timeless. There's your bumper sticker advice for you. Anyway, my overall point here in that piece and here today is that marketers need to consciously make a decision to create news and research or that which has a date. And by the way, count me firmly in the camp who think that content regarding original research and data should be dated so that it can be cited properly. And so here's the thing. Content that is meant and designed the test of time and serve as a classic needs to be not just presented as such, but also created as such. In my original piece that we'll link to, obviously, in the article here, I go through 6 attributes that tend to be shared among classic content that will stand the test of time and not necessarily need to be dated. But coming back to our news, well, the key is that mix. You need that mix of news-driven content that spurs the immediate action and click, and the classic that keeps that audience coming back for more. But how are you mixing it up? Are you dating content? Are you not dating content? Are you presenting news as news? What's the lifespan of your news? Send me an email or comment here. Chances are, if you're seeing this, it's only been a day or two, so you're not too late. But for now, that's it. That's 5 minutes of new news that's now old news that you need to lead your marketing strategy. I'm Robert Rose, and remember, as always, it's your story to tell. Tell it in your time. Well, I'll see you next week.